Welcome to Love Spells Podcast. I'm Love Spell, Hoodoo practitioner and conjurer of root work, diviner and tarot, light worker, spiritual healer, and advisor, and most of all, I'm brought to you here directly by my ancestors and guides. Up in here, we're gonna be mixing up a little potion of love, life, and liberation. Ingredients includes, but is not limited to, a handful of Black spirituality, a dash of mental health issues and how to heal from them, sprinkling in a little bit of Black history with a dollop of getting to know thyself. We're going to be stirring up the pot on all things Black, and this brew is lit and on the fire. So, as we go through this learning journey together, let's set our intentions to awaken the oppressed, address, and digress. Let's talk about it. I want you to be happy with me. Bask in my loyalty that calls out for you to be a better version of yourself. A joy that you have never felt. Forgiveness, understanding, and dedication. An unconditional love not up for debating. When this type of love, it heals. Has you all in your feels, and you cannot deny that it's real or true. Because this love is FUBU for you, by you. And I'm just going to have to lay it out there. Self-love is where it has to start. Because how you going to ask when you keep trying to give from an empty heart? Love is a feeling that we offer up easily to family members, significant others, even friends. But are we truly equipped to love one another? Today, we will open our hearts and get into the matter. What is your love language? Are you ready and available to love? And have you loved have you loved on yourself the way you've asked others to love on you? Let's get our heads over our hearts. This episode is called, I Want to Know What Love Is. Let's talk about it. Love yourself first, and everything else falls into line. You really have to love yourself to get anything done in this world. Lucille Ball. So, love is my love language. It's one of the reasons why my name is Love Spell. I am a Libra sun in the zodiac or astrology signs, and if anybody knows anything about a Libra, we are ruled by Venus. And Venus is the goddess of war and love, which technically are the same things. I'm an empath. So I love with intuition, anticipation, and nurturing and nurturing the needs of others. Even so, myself, I have loved while unprepared. I've hurt people and I've been hurt. I've lived in a cycle of loving just to be loved and offering what I didn't give to myself. What's probably the worst is that I accepted less than I was worth and made excuses for why I was accepting less than I was worth. This is a judgment-free statement, because a lot of people do this, especially in their youth and even up into deep into adulthood. When it comes to loving other people, naturally people will put that other person's needs, wants, and desires as a priority over others. Well, unfortunately, when you're the type of person who does that naturally, you will encounter a lot of people who do the opposite, put their own selfish needs and wants as a priority over yours. And therefore, it creates an imbalance of one person wanting what the other person refuses to give, and them both calling it love. So the first thing we have to do in order to love on ourselves or love anyone at this point is to understand how we love. And the way you do that is called figuring out your love language, or what speaks to you when it comes to love. So what is love language? It's how we most comfortably communicate and accept love. There are 5 main ways that we communicate when it comes to love. One is through words, communication, listening, being listened to, and appreciating or feeling appreciated. The second one is physical touch, body language, and physical affection, showing love through sexual acts as well. The third one is giving gifts or buying a person thoughtful things, making them a priority, or purposefully buying things or doing things for them. The fourth one is quality time, undivided attention, and conversation, one-on-one time. The fifth one is acts of service, being a helping hand, being of service to someone, or going out of your way to do things for that person. The reason why we communicate in these ways is because we were either brought up in a household that did these things often, or even certain types of traumas will cause a person to love in the opposite direction. So, for example, if someone is very physical with their love, the only way they show their emotion is through physical touch or sexual encounter, just because they may have possibly been taught in the household to that saying "I love you" or being communicative. Oh, which I'm lacking in right now. But being communicative about expressing their love was a sign of weakness, or a show of you being a wimp or a whiny baby, or sensitive or something like that. So, the way you love, or the what feels comfortable to you, is in these 5 categories, but one or two of them will stand out more than the other on how you love. And when someone approaches you and you start to get to know them, if you know these 5 characteristics, then you will easily be able to figure out what love language the other person has, and if you guys will even be compatible in loving each other. So, a person who loves through communication will not do well in a relationship where they are negatively criticized or feel unappreciated. If you are a physical person, a physical neglect or a lack of intimacy, dry, cold affection is present in a relationship, the person who loves through physical touch will not be fulfilled in the connection. Missing a person's birthday or a significant holiday, being unenthusiastic or forgetful to a person who loves as a gift giver, is a sudden death to a relationship or connection. It's a sure way to kill it. Being distracted or staying away from a person through long periods of time for someone who is a quality time lover will cause a breakdown in the connection. And if you half-ass what you do or make others a priority over the person who loves through services or acts, the relationship won't last. Now, I know that everyone wants all of these qualities in a relationship. Everybody wants quality time. Everybody wants, physical touch. Everybody wants to communicate with people. But as I said earlier, there will be 1 to 2 of these attributes that stand out. That is a deal breaker when it comes to a relationship. And if those 2 or 1 or 2 things breaks down, if it becomes stagnant, if it becomes that someone pulls back and snatches that away from you, then the relationship will go on a perpetual cycle of falling out of control, spinning out of control. And that is how you know that is your love language, when you start to feel unfulfilled or unhappy in the relationship this way. If you are someone who is manipulative, you will learn the love language of someone else and use what this person wants as a way to control the situation. And I have experienced this myself, so I'm pretty much aware. When a person has figured out how to, cover up how they love, or give mixed signals on how they love, and then learn the way you love, and then give and take as gifts and punishment, as a way to dangle a carrot. They can use it against you. especially if you're not aware of how you love, and especially if you're not aware of how they love. So, knowing your own love language and how it affects you is portion of understanding yourself before you can actually participate in a relationship with someone else. But it's also a way of protecting yourself against people who may not be aware that that is the word or that is it. I mean, I don't think they sit here and like research it or whatever, but learning through consistently navigating people's emotions and then figuring out, how to do it. Okay. So let's say that you figure it out. You're aware of how you love. You're aware of the things that, the love language that you speak, how to use it properly and everything, and the kind of person that you like, or the matchup of your love language to that person. The next question is, are you sure that you're confident and that you understand how to love and that you can be capable of having a healthy relationship with another person? Well, here's the truth. If you have not taken the time to care for yourself financially, emotionally, and supportively, the answer is no. You are not prepared to be in a healthy relationship. So let's get down to the bottom of it. The phrase self-love, knowing your worth. And I say that with quotations because I really think it's a very cliche. And a lot of people say that some of the most toxic people in the world, let's just say that, say, I know my worth. I know my worth. Ladies, we guilty of this. We're guilty of this. I know my worth. FYI, your worth is not how much somebody's supposed to spend on you. That's not your worth. Your worth is not what somebody is supposed to show the world about how they feel about. That is not your worth. Your worth is way deeper than rap. It is way deeper than that. And it's not that superficial. And although it's coming from a place of saying like, oh, well, I'm not going to let a man do this, that, or the third. A lot of times when us women say that we know our worth, what have you, we're always saying it in a manner that's like, nobody's up to par with us. Nobody can, you know what I'm saying? And it's toxic. Let's just say that it's toxic. So we're going to bring it back. Bring it back, honey. Knowing your worth is knowing exactly what it is that is acceptable behavior from other people that brings about fulfillment, that brings about abundance, that brings about a form of happiness, and is mutual between you and that other person. That is knowing your worth and not accepting less, even from yourself. Yes, ladies, if you don't know your worth from you, then you still don't know your worth. Okay, so let's get back to self-love. Self-love is not getting massages, going on trips and buying expensive food, or getting a mani-pedi, or getting your hair done. It's not fluff and puff and rainbows and unicorns. And don't get me wrong, that is incorporated in the long run. It is. But the start of self-love comes usually from a dark place. Usually when you have to step on a path of trying to love yourself, it is because you feel unfulfilled in some category, whether it be from the people around you, like family members who you feel betrayed by or non-loved by, a relationship or multiple relationships that have went sour and you're trying to figure out why. Even friends, losing friends, or having to step away from people who you thought were your friends until you realize that they were backstabbing you or betraying you. It usually comes from the loss of what you thought was love, or not even really, and I wouldn't even say like the loss of what you thought was love. I would say it probably comes more from realizing that the way people were loving you, you had no clue was not actually love at all. That people were receiving something from you, and you weren't receiving what you wanted back. And then realizing that you had given out more than you had gotten, and now you feel depleted. Now you have to go and fill back up the cup that you emptied out with other people, whoever it so be. And there's one other reason that doesn't have to do with everybody else of why you would step into a path of going into self-love, and that would be because you realize that you're betraying yourself in some type of way. These are people who have allowed toxic behaviors or depression or just anything that is non-serving to your life dictate how you treat you, how you take care of you. So self-love starts from a place of darkness. It usually starts from a place of trauma or an epiphany about what is really going on and where you're really headed with this or whatever. And it's not unicorns and rainbows and all of that. It's actually pretty screwed up. It's like a phoenix rising from the ashes situation, caterpillar going into a cocoon. Once you step on a path of self-love, though, once you have that epiphany or that awakening or something jolts you into realizing that you've been doing yourself a disservice, you will finally have to make some hard decisions. So the next step after an epiphany is hard truths in a mirror. You have to ask yourself the questions. You have to look at yourself realistically and figure out, what did you do? What part did you play? What participation did you lead into, and why? The bigger question is, you have to recognize what you did. But the most important thing is to recognize why you did. Once you decide to embark on a self-love journey and you've become dedicated to doing such a thing, after the epiphany, the trauma, or whatever, the understanding of your losses, or evaluating what you have left, and you move into that hard, questions in a mirror, and you've gotten through that portion, the next step after that is change. Making the necessary changes so that you can prevent yourself from ever being in that direction again. Now that you recognize the problem, the next step is moving away from that problem. So a lot of times when it comes to change, that is the hardest part. Changing who you're around. If you are having an epiphany in the middle of still having toxic friends, moving away from people who, misery loves company type situation is really hard and whatever. You're going to be the person who has changed, acting funny, tripping, thinks you're better than us. And you have to accept that that is going to be your story. You have to be okay with it. You have to understand that everybody can't come with you where you're going, because you're now evolving. You're moving away from what no longer serves you. And of course, these are the same people who probably have taken from you and never given, and is trying to convince you that you're a really crappy person by not allowing them to take from you anymore. Wow, you're making a big loss. But it feels hard because guilt is what holds you to being mistreated. guilt is what keeps you around for more punishment. And so you have to release the guilt. You have to start making changes. You'll have people who will not understand your path or where you're going. Why you up and just changed so quickly, or so you're acting so different now. So once you've eliminated or made the changes, eliminated the people in your life that are causing or helping to aid in the bed and toxicity, bringing you down, or just not fulfilling you in some type of way, then you have to change your thought process, your perception of yourself. Because when you allow for someone to love you inappropriately, or for you to betray or not love yourself, it is because you create a narrative for yourself to make it acceptable. No one just has a person in their lives that doesn't provide for them in a healthy manner and then doesn't question it. It does get questioned, but what ends up happening is that a person will make excuses for that person. And this is a sense of betrayal. For me, looking on my own personal journey, this for me is the ultimate amount of betrayal. It is self-betrayal, and you are supposed to be for you no matter what. So when you create a story for someone else to make it acceptable for that person to have betrayed you, it is like you betraying yourself twice. One, betraying yourself by creating a story to make it okay, and then betraying yourself again by creating a story to make it okay for another person to come and betray you. I know, it's a whole little step, but there's levels to this thing. You get what I'm saying? So you have to now go after your lack mentality, your acceptance of a lower level, or this is where we get it right, ladies. Acceptance of not getting what you are worth. And you making it okay. Now, this is the part where the massages, the fluff and puff, the all of that comes in. Once you've given yourself some hard truths, once you've looked into a mirror, once you've kicked out the people in your life that are not serving you, once you put in the dedication to yourself and started making the physical changes and the emotional, mental changes, you need to be gentle with yourself. Forgive yourself for the things you allowed. Do not harbor hurt and pain and resentment for what you allowed to go on. Ladies, you know how you forgive that man 15 times? Forgive yourself. Gentlemen, you know how you let that girl come back 10, 11 times? Forgive yourself. It's okay that you weren't aware. It's okay that you betrayed yourself. It's okay. Now that you know and you won't let that happen again, it's okay. Forgive yourself. Once you are dealing with the emotional changes, the mental changes, that is when you step in and give yourself the massages you so need. That is when you go and you take yourself out to that fancy restaurant, and you go and you buy that new car, you put in, because it is rewarding yourself for dedicating you to you. It is being gentle with yourself. It is offering the love that you know that you deserved. Whatever you didn't get from that person, that's fine, because I can give it to me. Because that's what I'm worth. Because that love that you were offering out, that that give to me, I love you, I love you, I love me. I love me. Self-love is first. Then you can offer out to other people. But once you have been filled up in your own cup, once you have given yourself a certain type of lifestyle, a certain way of doing things, and know that you will not betray yourself no matter who steps in, that you will not make up excuses for that person. There is no story sufficient enough to make it okay for someone to lie to you. There's no story sufficient. There's no trauma that person has gone through that is so bad that it's okay for someone to cheat on you. There's no mama that person lived with, no abuse that person went through that is okay, that makes it okay for someone to be emotionally or physically abusive to you. If that person has those types of problems, I'm sorry for them. But that has nothing to do with me allowing them to treat me in any type of matter because of that. They need a counselor. They don't need me. You're not betraying yourself anymore. You put up those healthy boundaries that cannot be crossed. You offer yourself the love or give yourself the love that everyone else is expected to give you too. And it's an expectation that you will not falter on. The people who are in your circle or around you or that you actually let into your energy and your space are people who either fulfill you in some type of way or bring about some kind of balance in your life, abundance-wise, financially, educationally, something of the sort. You are on your path. What ends up happening with your mental, now that you put yourself back in your rightful space, what ends up happening is things that looked like love don't look like that anymore. Gestures that look like gestures don't look like that anymore. And things that people did in friendships don't feel like friendly behavior anymore. And that's on a conscious and subconscious level. That is when you know that you've moved into a whole new space on what, or elevated yourself on your value. So on your path to self-love, know that it's going to be a whole lot of darkness and depression in the starting phases of it. Grief, shame, guilt, realizing that you betrayed yourself on so many levels for so many things. And you have to do the necessary things in order to move forward. So stop denying yourself the truth. See things for what they are. Is this person good for you? Or are they good for themselves? Are the people around you putting in, or are they just taking out of the pot? And if they aren't, you know where they should go. After you've addressed outside entities, it's time to look within. What are you doing to love yourself? Because love is an action word, right? What have you accepted? Put up the mirror and tell yourself the hard facts. Then make the necessary changes. If you have to start on a new regimen, change the cycles of your life, or even move to a different location to start all over, then that's what you need to do. Self-love is a journey all on its own. And just how you're putting forth the effort in order to create a relationship with somebody or have companionship, you need to be putting that much effort into the companionship you have yourself. Because guess what? You die with you. You don't die with anybody else, no matter how much you live with them, how long you live with them, how long you love them. You won't die at the same time. You're going to have to be with you always. And no matter what. So you are your own companion. Now, once you get through those steps and you've gotten to the point where you are taking yourself out, being gentle with yourself, and practicing forgiveness and changing that lack mindset. The main thing you need to focus on is continuing to have loyalty to you. Not letting anybody else waver and sway your opinion or how you feel about yourself. Having that confidence, that that fire behind you, that you are who you are and you know who you are. And you've put in the work to know who you are, and nobody can change that. You can't feed into your ego. It may feel like love to go out and overeat when you're trying to lose weight. But the truth of the matter is, all you feel is guilt and depression because you had a plan and you didn't stick to it. And that was being disloyal to yourself. You may feel good for the moment laid up with that man who makes you laugh and you guys can drink and smoke and fuck. But the truth of the matter is when he's off dating on someone else or when he embarrasses you or whatever, you feel nothing but hurt and depression because you're being disloyal to yourself, and so is he. The truth of the matter is, being loyal to yourself is self-love. Being disciplined enough to know that some things may feel good in the moment, but are not good for you. And just as you would tell your child that they couldn't have a whole trunk full of candy, you need to tell yourself no too. Not because you want to hurt yourself, but because you know that you are worth better. All that effort that you put into other people to make sure they flourish, all that helping hands that you hand out, I need you to hand it to yourself. Go after that new business venture you've been thinking about for years. Put your money into that situation. Go and take that class, learn that skill, get educated in whatever field that you're trying to go in. Go push yourself forward to go and get that promotion. Put in the work because love is work. It's action. And you will triumph, and believe you me, there will be people behind you no matter what. Great people do great things. And everyone wants to be around a great person. To sum it all up, in love you must value, forgive, and put work in and stay loyal. Consistently being honest with yourself, even when it hurts, even when it's hard. Treating yourself because you deserve the best. But only after you know what's truly best for you. The truth is, you're the best person for the job. And love is an action word. So how are you working on you? You've been listening to Love Spells Podcast. I am Love Spell, giving you gratitude and appreciation for your listening ear. I feel blessed to have had you as my guest as we stirred up the pot on all this mess. We've awakened the oppressed, addressed. Now it's time to digress. I'll be talking off your ear on the next episode. Bye for now.